Hi, good morning. How are you all? My name is Abhilash. I'm a student of folklore and culture studies and an enthusiast as well. Welcome to session 10 of folklore and culture studies. I hope all of you are enjoying this journey with me. Let's do a quick progress check of where we stand. So, right now, also, if you are watching this video for the first time or listening to this podcast for the first time, let me tell you that I follow the MA IGNO curriculum, right? And there we have, it's divided, the curriculum is divided into four parts. The first part is folklore and culture studies conceptual perspectives, under which we are in block one. In block one, we have folklore issues and methods. And under block one, there are four units. We are done with unit one, which is definition, function, and genres. And we're also done with unit two, which is brief history of folklore studies with special reference to India, right? So the previous nine sessions were unit one and unit two. And today we shall start with unit three, which is folklore and allied disciplines. That's what we shall start today. And now, unit three could take around 4 to 5 sessions, depending on how quickly we progress. So, without much ado, let's get started then. So, give me one moment, and here you go. So today we shall start, like I mentioned already, we should start with unit three, which is folklore and allied disciplines. So what are we going to cover today? We'll cover the quick objective of this unit, not objective of not this session, objective of this unit, which is unit three. We will do an introduction, and the third part is we will try and find out the links to other disciplines. So there are many disciplines, which in other words are different subjects, and today we shall find out the link between anthropology and folklore. So there are other disciplines as well, which we shall cover in coming sessions. But today, this is what we're going to cover. All right, so let's quickly start with objectives. So after this, reading this unit, you will be able to recognize the interdisciplinary nature of folklore, which means we'll try and understand how folklore is associated with other disciplines as well, the association between that. Number two is understand the linkages between folklore and allied disciplines, which is the whole objective of this unit. Acquaint themselves with works of some scholars. So we'll also talk about some works of some scholars and identify what is the link, right? And finally, understand the growth of folklore as an interdisciplinary subject. So we'll also study how folklore and culture study grew not just independently but as an interdisciplinary subject as well. If you remember, before folklore came into existence as an independent subject, it used to find its place as an annexure, right, in other disciplines, for example anthropology, sociology, gender studies, etc. And then over a period of time it found its own identity and it found its own place. But today we'll try and find the link between other disciplines, and today particularly we'll talk about the link between anthropology and folklore. Here we go, let's do a quick introduction. And this is very similar to the introduction of the session one as well. So folklore concerns itself with the life, habits, and behaviors, cultural and social conditions of communities or individuals. It is found everywhere, uh, be it in our everyday speech, customs, rites, and rituals, festivals, tales and stories, jokes, jests, and parables, and artistic performances of dance, music, and theater. So, this is, if someone asks you what is folklore, I think this is the best definition of a folklore. And uh, and hence this subject is very broad based, and is highly interdisciplinary and integrated discipline. This subject cannot be understood without keeping in mind other fields of study and expertise such as anthropology. What is anthropology? Anthropology is the study of human beings, right? Their races, their existence, etc. Gender studies, right? Ethnomusicology. What is ethnomusicology? Ethnomusicology is a study of music of different races, particularly the non-Western ones, right? Linguistic is the study of language patterns, right? Psychology is the study of mind, right? And the recent performance studies. So one thus needs to deeply understand the study of this, understand and study the links of folklore to understand to other related subjects. So in a sense, what it says is it's important that we understand the link between other disciplines, and therefore we can find some common items, and we could also find some differences as well. And so that's the objective of this unit, and that was the introduction. So today, like I said, let's start with the link of anthropology and folklore. So the nature of the subject, its contents, definition of folklore, its data selection, research methodology, and theories of folklore all relate to and associate with cultural anthropology, right? So the nature of the subjects, for example, its content, definition, data selection, research, etc., is directly related or associated with the cultural anthropology. So both anthropology and folklore studies arose in a climate that widely accepted Charles Darwin's theory of evolution and social Darwinism. So that was a time where both the subjects sort of arose and came into existence and found its prominent place in the field of academics. So this theory believed that all humans and human society went through a process of evolution and gradual growth, right? Which theory we're talking about, the Darwin's theory of evolution. Thus, in one way, it accepts the growth of cultures from a single point, or evolution from a single fixed concept. So the idea behind this was all of us evolved. Although this is a theory, and it is debatable, but that's definitely one way of looking at it. That all the cultures grew from a single point or evolved from a single fixed concept. All right. However, that's not it, right? However, it should be added that the subject matter in the two disciplines varies greatly. I think this is interesting, because most of you might have this thought that anthropology is different, it's a different academic subject, and how is it common or how is it different, right? And let's try and understand. So anthropology is concerned with contemporary people and cultures other than that of their own world. Now, what is contemporary? One of the meanings of contemporary is modern. So anthropology is concerned with you know modern people and cultures other than that, they're of their own world. So which means the study of different cultures, right? Study of human beings of different cultures. So that is anthropology. Folklore, on the other hand, is concerned with and it examines the lore, right? Lore is knowledge, right? No lore of their own people as it existed in the past and in the present times. So, folklore is a study of own people and not just modern. So it is also a study of people of the past times and the present times as well. How the evolution as well, or the progress, or the journey as well. So that's how these two subjects are different. In earlier times, it was mainly the peasant culture. We've used this multiple times. Peasant culture is a farmer culture. Peasants are farmers. So in earlier times, it was mainly the peasant culture that came under the scope of the study. So that's how it began, right? But today, folklore is a large, encompassing field. So the field has become wide. The spectrum has become wider, and it includes almost everything, right? Like we've mentioned there, it includes the way we talk, the way we think to a certain extent, our food habits, our rituals, festivals, stories, tales, etc., right? So Vladimir Prop, who is Vladimir Prop, right? VJ Prop, right? We've already studied his theory in one of in the academic theories, right? So Vladimir Prop defined material culture and customs as a spiritual culture. According to him, this is closely related to ethnography. What is ethnography? Ethnography is the scientific study of human races, right? So which means, what is a scientific study again? So they would try to find the facts and figures, etc., right? So that is ethnography. So according to Vijay Prop, um, this is closely related to ethnography, and thus folklore becomes a study of ethnologists. Ethnologists is people who study ethnography. He says the earliest forms of material culture and social organization are the objects of ethnography. So that was, according to Vijay Prab. So moving on, therefore, historical culture which attempts to discover the origin of its phenomenon rests upon ethnography. That's again one more discipline, and we're trying to find a link between these two disciplines here. There cannot be a materialistic study of folklore independent of ethnography, right? Like I said, ethnography is a study, it is a scientific study of human races, which mean there's data involved and other patterns involved, and therefore folklore cannot be independent of, of itself. The study of folklore, if you want to deep dive about it, somewhere it goes, or its origin, um, relates to ethnography. In any event, the folk tale, epic poetry, ritual poetry, charms, riddles, genres cannot be explained without enlisting ethnographic data, which is what I've already mentioned. Data and folklore studies has been collected from both the field and non-field research throughout the history. So if you remember the academic approaches, right, and I think in sessions 7, 8, in session 7 and 8, right? So we spoke about how towards the later 19th century, how folklore studies from, it initially was an annexure, then found its independent space, and then it moved from library to field, right? People started recording all the artifacts and all. So what does it say? Let's read again. The data, so field researches become imperative to its growth and understanding. So without field research, it is sort of incomplete in itself, and it is important to its growth and understanding. So many of the folklore theories as seen as being cross-cultural, right? What is meant here is that cultures share some certain commonalities, right? This is something we've been talking about right from session 1, that although people have different definitions, different viewpoints, but there is a certain amount of commonality. Many cultural anthropologists like Andrew Lang, we also know about Andrew Lang, right? We've already studied about him. Many cultural anthropologists like Andrew Lang accept a uniform cultural growth and development from savage state to civilization. So Andrew Lang, again, where have we spoken about Andrew Lang? Is he We spoke about him in one of the academic approaches, where he says that all the cultures grew from a common point, and from the savage state to civilization. Savage stages where there was no rule regulation, right, to a civilization where people started forming rules and regulations. So it grow, there was a uniform cultural growth or uniform cultural development, even across boundaries, is what Andrew Lang's theory was. This can be seen in the belief patterns and customs held by races, by all races of men, which means all races. What does it mean? It means that people from different cultures, there's a similar belief pattern. For example, it has been said by James B. Fraser that all myths came from ancient fertility rituals. So fertility rituals are, for example, when someone is born, or let's say when a baby is about to be born, there are a lot of rituals about that, right? Could be about food habits, or could be about belief. So similarity was found across different races, which means across different regions as well. So that was about Andrew Lang. Now let's see what Max Muller says. Max Muller also has studied common heritage of cultures and the past, right? He says that all the ancient legends regarding fire are concerned with the thunder god Thor of Teuton and Scandinavian stock, right? So you find, what Max Muller says is the concept of fire somewhere in all cultures is related to the thunder god known as Thor, right? He has also lent his name to the fifth day of the week, Thursday. Isn't this interesting, right? Thor and Thursday, right? Did you know this? Did you know? I think for me, while I was doing the research for this, for this session, this is something which was interesting. I never knew that Thursday has or Thor is the origin of the word or the term Thursday. So this day was observed as an off by ancient Romans, and in Sweden it is considered as a lucky day to get married. Right? This is interesting. Lomax, who has studied folk songs, says that one can predict universal relations in them with their inbuilt concepts mirroring cultures. So most of the songs, cultural songs, that's what Lomax says, that you find mirroring cultures. Mirroring cultures would what does it mean? It means that similarities or commonalities, right, in different cultures as well, and one can predict as well universal relationships within them. He found certain common features such as relationship between sexes, economies, productivity, and behavior patterns. However, he did say that all cultures contain their very own specific style. So, to summarize, what is Lomax saying? Lomax says that while there is the common concepts, especially in folk songs, concepts like relationship between sexes, economies, productivity, behavior, etc. While these are the common things, the difference is each culture is unique. It's in its own way as well. So that is what Lomax theory is. He has laid out six major regions having their own styles. As the study relied on heavy data, it helps to create predictive laws for human behavior. So, as per Lomax, what he says is created six major regions having their own style. Now, how has he created? Those creations are basis heavy data. Now, wherever you have data, automatically there could be predictions or patterns, right? And that's what it says, that it helps us create predictive laws for human behavior. So which means, let's study more. The above theories rely on published works. However, they lost their influence. They have seen much criticism in the 20th century. So over a period of time, it has lost its influence, and it has seen criticism as well in the 20th century. Now, Ruth Benedict, a social anthropologist, has greatly contributed to the relationship of anthropological theory in folklore. So there's a strong sense of contribution from Benedict, from about what, about the relationship between the anthropological theory and folklore. According to her, all parts of cultures are interrelated. So if you ask me why I find this subject interesting, is there are multiple people involved, a lot of scholars involved, and you'll find each one of them have a different theory, or have a certain parts are common, certain parts are different, but the basic human behavior or the human patterns are the same, right? That's what irrespective of religions, races, I think the human behavior, the pattern is the same. And I think this is what is interesting according to me, and this is what Ruth Benedict also says, right? According to her, all parts of culture are interrelated. They reflect by different means the same behavioral patterns, values, and beliefs. Folklore, hence, is the doorway to culture, right? So, culture is what? Something that has been followed by a group of people or majority of people for a certain number of years. That becomes culture, right? And where folklore comes into play is folklore is the doorway to culture. I think that's a wonderful association Ruth has put across. So culture is thus a part of a whole, right? According to her, modern anthropology has become more and more a study of varieties and common elements of cultural environment, and consequences of these in human behavior. Right? What does it say? Let's read it again. Modern social anthropology has become more and more a study of the varieties and common elements. So, the study of differences and commonalities in the cultural environment, and the consequences, or the response or the results in these, in the human behavior. The study of that is also, is anthropology. So modern civilizations, from this viewpoint, become not a necessary pinnacle of human achievement, but one entry in a long series of possible adjustments. What does it mean? In other words, or in simpler words, is that modern civilization, from this viewpoint, is not a necessary pinnacle of human achievement. Like, for example, today, we have grown. When I say we, I'm talking about the human race. We've grown, we've evolved, etc. But that's not necessarily the pinnacle. Pinnacle is the height or the epitome, right, of our achievement, but it is one entry in the long series of possible adjustments. So somewhere, this level, or the place that we stand today, is not the highest of their achievement, and it is one entry in the long series of possible adjustments, right? So with the evolution, the human race has also adjusted to climate, adjusted to people, adjusted to beliefs, right? And the belief system changes, the climate changes, and everything, changes over a period of time. And we are just one entry in the long series of possible adjustment, is what, according to Benedict. So these adjustments, whether they are in mannerism, like the way of showing anger or joy or grief in any society, or in major human drives like those of sex, prove to be far more variable than experience in any one culture would suggest. So all these elements, for example, everything has changed, or everything has evolved, or things change from generation to generation, and these are nothing but adjustments, right? That's what it says. So these ideas have become the idea of culture as a single unified whole. So this also helps us to define folklore, and has led to several anthropological approaches to culture. What does it mean? That these observations or these patterns, not only folklore and culture has derived certain theories from ethnography and anthropology. Other, it's two way around, right? So concepts like anthropology have also sort of led to several approaches, because the way the human patterns have changed. In other words, the definition of folklore has changed from time to time. So that's that. And ethnography, as another discipline, is also a very important component of folklore studies. This can be defined as a method by which researchers involve themselves in the ways of life of humans and study them as they live. So this is, ethnography is again as a method in which researchers involve themselves in the way of life of human beings. So they track how a particular society lives, and they study them and as they live as well. So not like history where you study about people who are dead, but they study people who are alive. This was popularized by Clifford Greets amongst the many other social and cultural anthropologists. So this concept or the study, or was popularized by Clifford Greets is a man. This method is based on observing, recording, and participating in the daily activities of culture. So three important keywords here. So this method, what is it based upon? It is based upon observing. So observation, recording would mean tracking the patterns, and also talks about data, and participating in the in the daily activities of culture as well. The next concept is structuralism, is another anthropological approach to culture sorry, approach to folklore, right? Structuralism we've studied in different academic approaches in session 7 or 8 as well. So if you haven't watched those, please do watch. And if you're still listening to this podcast or video, right, I strongly suggest that you watch the episodes or listen to the podcast in sequential order. So there's a, so that you can find the link to, all the episodes, and there's a chronology, there's a structure which will increase your learning experience. All right. So this is concerned with the discovering and studying the structures of folklore. The morphology and the structure of narratives and jokes and riddles are also taken into account. According to Prop is who? VJ Prop. The father figure of structuralism. Actions are basic in folklore, folk tales, which can perform by a dragon, devil, or a witch. These are also heroes and villains generic to the plot. So, what was the concept of structuralism? The concept of structuralism was that the the character, the heroes or the protagonists could change from region to region or from race to race, but the actions performed by them, or let's say irrespective of whichever part of the world you are, because of the common human behavior, human pattern, the heroes or the villains are expected to perform, or in a certain way. So let's say if there are two different cultures, if there is no overlap, there is, they've never mixed with each other, even then the protagonists are expected to behave in the same way because the action patterns are the same. So that was structuralism, which Andrew Lang had a different theory. That his theory was, no, everything started from ancient India and people traveled from India to Europe and other parts of the country, and therefore with this travel, the culture they took, you'll find similarities. But Prop had a different opinion. His opinion was, no, it's not necessary because of the travel. It is because the central characters behave in a certain way because the human behavior is is predictive. It responds in a particular fashion. So that was that. So that's the sense. And which is why they say there are also heroes and villains generic to the plot. Right. So hence the folk tales, riddles, jokes, and proverbs represent the social cultural context of a society. Another approach to folklore texts have been based on linguistic study advanced by Levi Strauss. Right. According to him, myths have similar features. So what Strauss says, that myths have similar features. They're based on reaction and reflect common ideas that oppose one another, like good and evil, male and female, earth and sky. So what Strauss says is, in folklore, for example, you why there is a commonalities, because most people, or most cultures have common things. For example, the good and the evil, the male and the female, the earth and the sky. These are common things, and hence ideas are common, and therefore there could be a similarities as well, because because these are the central plots of folktale jokes and are the proverbs. Therefore, the patterns are also same, right? So that's what Strauss says. According to other myths, according to others, myths either mirror or distort realities, while Prop at the storyline Levi Strauss deals with the inherent structure of folklore. Structures are seen as a mantle, and models are built upon concrete reality. So it is also said that structures are based upon cultural realities. Now, what is the difference between structure and a model here? Structure, which is structuralism, is they are seen as a mantle. Mantle is like a shawl, or like a surface, right? Something that we can see but not deep rooted. But on the other hand, models are deep rooted, and they are based upon concrete reality, right? And therefore, you know we've already studied about this in one of the previous sessions, that myths are, not everything that you find in folklore or is true, right? Those are certain myths as well. So I mean, there is no recorded evidence, right? So those are structures which are spoken about on the surface, but models on the other hand are deep rooted, and are based upon concrete reality or concrete evidences. And so the problem in myth is solved by mediation. Now, what is mediation? Mediation is coming to a common platform, and agree to disagree. So is mediation. So Strauss believes that Myths have a deep structure and contain binary opposition and mediation. Folklore, hence, fulfills some basic psychological, social, and cultural functions in the society. Symbolic anthropology has also led to deeper studies in folklore. Right? This is a study. What is symbolic anthropology? This is the study of nature of symbols as used in rituals, performances, and in daily, right? And in daily lives. So the symbols have two main components, right? One is visible, the idea to which it points out, and the sensory or the experience of the person performing the ritual, right? So it says so symbolic anthropology is again as human beings or as as a part of a particular culture, right? Symbols play an important role in every day of life, especially in performing rituals and all. We have different symbols, right? Objectification as well. For example, how can I give you an example there? For example, those marks, right, that we have, or particular drawings that we do, right? All of those could be examples of symbols, right? And there are two main components. One is visible. Visible could be a drawing or something which triggers the sensory organs, or could be for example, blowing the shell which is shunk. That can be an example of a symbol as well, which triggers your sensory um, you know um, organ, auditory sense. Or maybe the bell, right? The bell, which the church bell or the temple bell, can be an example of a symbol as well, which triggers the auditory thing. Or perhaps the agarbatti that we use, the incense sticks as well, that is also common, which triggers the smelling sense. So those could be examples of symbolic anthropology. So objectification and symbolization has been coming down through the ages. So in the cave paintings, we can see depictions that gave an ideological effect, right? So you find a lot of cave paintings, right? Even today it exists. You go to places where people have drawn. I mean, ancient people have drawn. I think a lot of places you find animals, or how they used to hunt, and certain structures which they used to hunt, those tools and all of that, we find. So those could be examples of, again, symbolic anthropology. Emily Durkheim studied symbols and said that they have social meanings. The society is said to have constituted itself with symbols. Nep has also studied the in-between phrases, or the liminal phrases. Liminal phrases are, the subtle phrases in which symbols help to transform man. Edward Safir sees that these symbols have several complex and multivalent meanings, which means so these symbols um, could have a straight meaning, right? Or could be a subtle message as well, or there could be something hidden in between the lines as well, right? So Nep says there could be, he studied between phases, right? Or in liminal phases. All right. So those are some examples. Barbara Barbara Bablock has also studied the characteristics of symbols and how they speak in different layers, which is again similar to the previous concept, that this may not be as simple as we look at them or how they appear. There could be different layers to it as well, or signifiers, in other words, it is called. So in the contemporary sense, technology and commodification has also led to deeper study of symbols, right? And I think one of the things that I can think of is the logo that we use, right? In today's, not today, but let's say in the past 50, 60 years and 100 years of the modern age, logo has become very common, right? Logo of a brand, right? And I think that why perhaps is it has its root to, the symbolic anthropology as well. So, from the 1960 onwards, scholars have studied the relationship between mass media and folk cultures. As ethnic and rural folk pour into cities, forms of mass media such as televisions, films, and audio recordings employ folk themes. These factors have led to deeper studies in the field of folklore, right? And which is what we spoke about. So, right, in 1960s, scholars have studied the relationship between mass media and folk culture. So, the scholars have also studied the relationship between mass media, and a lot of folk pour into cities in the form of mass media. For example, in televisions and films and audio recordings, a lot of folk themes are also used, and these factors have led to deeper studies in the field of folklore as well. So that's all we have for today. I hope you have enjoyed the session. And if you do have any special requests, firstly, if you do have any feedback, right, please share your feedback. I would love to implement your feedback. And if you think these sessions are adding value, I strongly recommend that you subscribe to this channel. That'll work as an encouragement for me, and I will continue to post these videos. And one more suggestion I need from you is the frequency of these videos okay? I try and post at least one video per week. Do share your thoughts and comments about the frequency of the videos as well, right? And if you are a cultural enthusiast as well, folklore and culture enthusiast as well, and perhaps you want to share your thoughts or you want to conduct a session, please do reach out to me. Right, the comment option is available, and perhaps we can collaborate, and others can also come and share their knowledge and thoughts as well. So that way, as we can grow as a community and we can learn from each other. All right. So on that note, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon again in our next session. Till then, take care. Bye bye.